we sell you the dream that you might be in that 1%.
Exactly. You
Right.
feel like
And
it is
this is one of
possible.
those things when I just say, even from a business perspective, right, that like Taylor Swift did this brilliantly, right? She one time sent some hundreds of fans an invitation to come to her house. She baked them cookies. She let them listen to a new
Yeah.
album. So, like, every white woman in America thinks that maybe Taylor Swift could be her friend, right? But, like, the thing that pisses me off about the George Washington narrative, not the thing, there's a lot of things, right? But, like,
Right.
why do we even talk about his teeth?
That's
Like,
what I'm
why
saying.
did we
Like,
need to talk
isn't
about
that
the man's teeth in the first place? Like, why did we go make up this cutesy story that is just fake? Like, it's just not true. He did
they
not have
were
wooden teeth. He had
guilty?
human teeth
Like,
pulled from someone else's head.
and they right in our faces, and then keep doing it. And to say like, hey guys, did you know his teeth were made of wood? Who? We know nothing about anybody else's teeth. And we need to know this about his teeth, just so that we don't look at the fact that his teeth were made of wood. That is our first president. And just because he was first, being first is just white supremacist thinking. That's one of the, sense of urgency, but also like first to market. You're the first one. So the first one's into an MLM. That's why I say America's an MLM. The first ones in are they win because they created it. So everyone's a bottom line, downline person. Down is right in the language. Like when you had said last week that hierarchy is patriarchal or the patriarchy is hierarchical, they're the same thing to me. And they're both pyramid schemes of people as property management. Right? The people are property and body parts and they're your kids or your building, whatever, same thing. You own it. And like making it work for you is the only way forward. But what we were talking about before we started recording, also you're saying, as you build in this system, as you get higher up, you do better. It's almost like it builds a sense of codependency to it, like the patriarchy, right? So like it is parasitic in that it needs someone beneath it. You can't just be a patriarch out on your own unless you're like Bill Gothard. I guess you create a little cult because he didn't have a wife or kids. But he told
There's still
everybody,
always a structure there, right? Like there's
yeah,
still like a
you can
hierarchical
participate, right?
structure that's
You
in
can use
there
it.
holding them up. I mean, I was just thinking about, because obviously we're going to launch Culting of America soon, and I'm indie publishing that book. And I was just thinking through the language of like, I mean, I'm writing a book literally pulling apart and critiquing systems, right? And like the systems that we are in. And like, I chose to not do it in the traditional publishing system, in part so that I didn't have to play that game.
Exactly.
Right? Like, I'm criticizing Alcoholics Anonymous. Can you imagine trying to find a publisher where, like, of the 100 people that are going to work on that book, like, not one person's going to have an issue with that? And, like,
see, and is it like that? And then I think like that's how I want us to think about these systems, is that they're just made up of random people with biases. Because to me, why not? Like my whole problem with social cues, right, and code switching, switching codes and social cues, something like that, right, is that I didn't get it, and I'm like, I don't want to get it, right? Because it's all cultiness of like, you believe it's a system, like publishing as just like merit based, right? But then when you grow up as a Black person, it's also being aware that people can be really, really good at something and there's no way they don't end up successful at like singing, dancing, anything. We're great at everything, honestly. Business making. But I did also think about one thing, is that drug dealing is also an MLM. Because all the money you make, you put back in to like buy new. You never really have profit in the end. And also then when you build a codependency based on the cult, is jewelry. Now you have to show it, right?
yeah.
And like,
And also gangs are cults and terrorist
yeah,
groups are cults and cults
yeah,
are organized crime, like
it
these
comes
are
from the
all...
same structure. The same.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's like what happened, but it's recording.
The dog is having issues.
An MLM is an MLM is an MLM, right? Like a multi-level. That's what America is. Amway is American way.
also, like, it has been said many a time that Mormonism is like kind of the quintessential American religion, and it's an MLM, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just like Mormonism is just an MLM, and an MLM is more like they're all the same.
Yep.
And ironically, shockingly, the
Mhm.
highest per capita MLM is in the state of Utah.
Yeah. Only 1% make it. That's America. Right? Only
Yeah.
1% make a profit. That's America. But it's okay because it's selling you exceptionalism and
But
specialness.
also,
Like
it's
you can do
okay
it.
because we sell you the dream that you might be in that 1%.
Exactly. You
Right?
feel like
And
it is
this is one of
possible.
those things when
Hmm.
I just say, even from a business perspective, right, that like Taylor Swift did this brilliantly, right? She one time sent some hundreds of fans an invitation to come to her house. She baked them cookies. She let them listen to a new
Yeah.
album. So, like, every white woman in America thinks that maybe Taylor Swift could be her friend, right? Like, I didn't even really criticize, right? But I criticized a
Yeah.
tiny bit. And I tell you, when I wrote those words, I felt a little shaky, right? Because I was like, what if she reads my book?
Right.
And just like, how silly is that, right? Like,
Like, wait.
I had to take
Also, it's
myself
like
and be like,
Prince Charming.
first of all, one of the most famous people in the world, probably not going to read my book, right? Second of all, I should still say these things if she does, right? But it's
Yeah,
like
but also,
we've been sold this fantasy that we can be the billionaires, the next billionaires, and that these people are just a step away from us. Like, we're just one lucky coincidence away from being multimillionaires and being friends with all these rich and famous people.
but and I think like to take it a step further is like those people aren't good friends. Like
Right.
even if that were true, right? Like I think it's popping this bubble of you could,
Right.
if you just work hard enough, you'll catch your tail, right? And then something.
What you
Oh,
gonna do with it?
she'll see you, you'll get to be friends, and then you'll realize she's just a person. Rehumanize these people. She's just a person, and she's probably a terrible. Has she been known to be a good friend to any of these people? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, see them as people. And because I think maybe I was listening to an old episode, and maybe you had said something about this before, and I'm just thinking like my brain doesn't even go there. Maybe when I was younger. And I'm starting to realize that a lot of white things that white women do, I experienced younger. I feel like maybe I get it a little bit, when white women get really mad at my content, right? They feel like I'm yelling at them personally for some reason, even though it's just a page, it's just on your FYP, and they're like, you need to know this. Oh, I'm going to pray for you. Da, da, da. When I was younger, I hated this guy. I think his name was Tony Little because he was like this workout instructor. And I was like, he yells at my mom, right? He is always yelling at my mom. And I hated him. But I was young. And then I started to realize, oh, things exist outside of the here and now. And in this time, asynchronous events, she put it on, right? A lot of stuff. She laughed at me. This is a part of maybe the Amelia Bedelia of it all. But like, social consequences are okay, right? But I also think like maybe that's the white woman Prince Charming. Like, oh, maybe this guy is Prince Charming. What does Prince Charming do? What has he done his story? Like, what are they selling you aside from he makes you feel special? He makes you feel special. Like you're the only one in the world. None of that is good. You're not special. There aren't better people than other people. You know,
Yeah.
but
And
it's
also
selling you supremacy.
this idea you're making me realize of like the silver bullet of success that is probably so wrapped up in white supremacy, and I say
Ah,
that like
silver
this is
bullet.
what the process of the book
I hate
taught
that.
me was
Sorry.
like there's no silver bullet, right? Like this idea that we're sold that we're just going to get discovered or like one lucky thing's going to happen and we're just going to be launched into the success stratosphere. Like
Yeah.
that's not how it happens. We've been sold this.
Right.
Right?
That's a
And I mean, we're
terrible
actively
thing to.
watching the curtain, the ugly curtain of celebrity being pulled down, right? With all this stuff that's going on right now and
Yeah.
seeing that like even those people who were in the stratosphere that we were looking at were paying a hefty price
The
for
spaceship is sticky and
this.
gross, and the windows don't open. It smells bad. The knight in shining armor is all sweaty in there and he doesn't wear deodorant because he thinks he's too good. Okay, like that's what I need. I like, maybe that's the version of them saying, imagine everybody in their underwear. I never really got that one, but I feel like this is my version of that. Like everyone's
Yeah.
just a person.
They're just a person.
And
Yeah.
think about the reality of what's actually going on there, because they come down and then they go for more things. They're not like, phew, done, I feel great. They're like, I'm selling you it and that you should want it too. Have you seen something that you actually aspire to? Someone living a day-to-day life that looks pleasing or something, not a performance or anything like that, but the silver bullet of success. Oh my goodness. Success? What's that? Bullet? What? Hold on. But I get it completely, because when I decided to be White Woman Whisperer, part of my brain thought the second I make this name, and I knew it was irrational a bit, because once I thought of it, I felt like someone was going to steal it. So maybe that was my white hat. And then I made it, and I thought, people are going to see this name, and I'm going to, blow up, right? That's literally, oh my God. But I'm going to blow up, and like, that's going to totally happen, right? Because people are going to see exactly what I'm doing, all the listening and learning, especially because it was January 2021. That's not how that happened. I did, get and slow build and have been building since and have done so much better than what I thought I wanted, right? Because at that point I was still leaving the cult and still thought consultant vibes and I don't know, some other thing. But once I realized, oh wait, I think growing lean and not building this empire right away, like this, if I had been found, who would have found me, right? Like if I had blown up and then some random white institution, and then what? Explain myself to them? I always ended up backing down from stuff like that.
And just the
I
concept.
had the chances.
But even just the concept, I think we're so lied to, right? Like look at
crazy.
Beyonce. She's been famous, seems like my whole life, and she works her butt off to produce new stuff, to stay relevant, right? To stay in the eye. Like any of these, it's not like once you're famous, you're just famous forever. Like
it does the work for itself.
Yeah,
right.
This idea that just like, I mean, I thought like I got a TEDx talk, right? And I thought like I was just going to be like, everyone was going to know me, right? Like, are you kidding? I'm talking about a cult. I'm telling a cult story. Like everyone's going to know. And it's just like, actually realizing that like, no, and to me, social media has been good for this because it's like, it doesn't matter. I've had videos that hit 2 million and my comments are out of control. But if I stop posting, it goes away. Like it is literally, you're working at it every day to like keep yourself relevant and keep yourself in focus and keep yourself. It's like there's no silver bullet. And I told myself that, when I.
But like, do you want that?
And it's like, no. And also it almost like takes away from getting to achieve your, like, in March, right? Goodreads put my book under Michelle Obama's in a perfect photo for Women's History Month. Nice. And I just got to celebrate that and just enjoy that. And I didn't spend any time wondering like, oh, is this going to launch me? Is people going to find out? Are we going to know? Are we, right? Like, is this going to be the next step to whatever? It was just like, oh, this is lovely, versus this like idea of like now I look at it like I am building my empire, but like I'm building these things that I own and that I've put in the world, like in my timeline, and I can do what I want with them. Not like I'm going to be this thing. Like someday I'm going to be this thing. Exactly.
Thing
right?
That already happened. Like that is the whitest. But you have to like make that your own decision. You have to like devalue it.
So I'm glad you brought that up, right? Because this is the traditional publishing process, is that you have to explain your book and your story in the context of what has gone before, right? They call it comparisons, right? But basically they're like, tell me exactly what your book, and you literally are supposed to explain it, right? So like my book, the elevator pitch for Uncultured was educated meets shoots like a girl, right? Like this is what we're going to do. Not what I actually did, which is I'm going to do something brand new, right? I'm going to give you cult and military in the same story, comparing, not contrasting. And I'm going to show you that cult survivors can teach you about more than just surviving trauma. Like we also know a lot about groups, right? Like I'm going to do these new things. They're just going to be like, who's going to buy that?
It's so weird because couldn't it
And the
just be
thing
like,
is,
read
like,
this book and they go, oh, that was good.
I mean, everyone told me it wouldn't work. And like, here I am finding out that the market for knitting and talking about cults is very large.
Yeah.
Right. But you can't, it was like at the time people were like, you can't compare your company to the next Facebook. And I was like, yeah, but even if Mark Zuckerberg had gone and said he was going to have 4 billion users, he would have been laughed off the face of the planet because it hadn't been done before. And the only way to explain yourself to these systems. So what we did with Uncultured, and one of the things I'm teaching, like women, people who I think their stories need to be in the world because there's no stories like that out there, is like, we explained it by themes, right? So we were like, for readers of this book whose father escaped North Korea, they're going to relate to Uncultured for this, right? For readers of this book, blah, 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 they're going to relate to this, right? For readers of whatever, like my book is Uncultured is put in a bunch of lists with Diary of Anne Frank, right? Like in no way the same kind of book, but there are themes that are similar. But it's, and that's great, by the way. Like this is one of the things I hope to teach authors in my class is like you tuck themes into your story. That's your area of expertise, and that's also your market, right?
Ooh,
every theme I've tucked into Uncultured, like literally I meet distance runners and I'm like, oh, I wrote a book about running a marathon, you know, like I have all these different themes in there.
Yeah.
But the fact is, like, I kind of had to like fake it to show the publishing industry that I was worth taking a chance on, you know? And it was like,
and that's the problem.
Instead of just saying, nobody's done this before, of course there could be a huge market for it. You have to be like, oh no, but my story actually does fit in this box that you don't think it fits in. I just have, you know, and it's that kind of like.
You're working against the current. And I feel like, especially with social media, like it doesn't need to be that way. And like, yeah, maybe you could make a bigger sum of money, but what are you paying for? Like, what is that costing you in terms of how you can use your voice and what you have to think about before you speak? That is why I've built the Patreon, and you know, it's not just a money thing, white people style. It's like, no, because I don't want to do ads and sponsorships, because you can only get paid by either your audience. Ooh, I heard the Jersey right there. Your audience, your platform, or brands, right? Or you know, the commercial route. So you can either sell to your audience and they pay you, so like you become this middleman between the consumer or whatever. The platform is going to pay you, and that they're never going to do that because they don't have to, and the people. And to me, I'm working individually with people, not systems, because I can't connect with an organization. If there's a word organization involved, that isn't a being. There's people, right? Like if no one is against AA, well, your book, right? Like if people are risk averse, organizations are risk averse, but it's not even risky. I just hate how much of the process involves explaining yourself, like explaining your expertise of, you had experiences, read the back of the book. I don't understand. Aren't people just going to go read the back of the book? But it's almost like they're creating their role as the, you know, the middleman, the managers, the overseers, all of this. And that's why there's so much money involved, and it's so vague, and it's a process, and you don't understand who's gonna, it's just a bunch of people. So why not sell directly to those people, but just have a lower overhead because you're running your own little thing on the internet? You know, it's like, I trust these people more than I trust an organization.
There's this movie called Yesterday, and like there's this accident, and all of a sudden the Beatles disappeared from the world, and only one guy remembers them, right? But anyways, there's a part where they're launching him, and they're having the big marketing meeting of meetings, and it's Kate whatever, the lady who was Weird Barbie, right? You know, like funny, satirical, from Saturday Night Live.
Okay,
Anyway,
McKinnon.
yeah, Kate McKinnon, and he's like, "Is it really called the big marketing meeting in the meeting?" She's like, yeah, it's a big deal, and it
Yeah.
literally is. I mean, it's this scene would just be perfect for what you're talking about, right? It's
It
all these people
is
being
though.
like, "We're
There's a
gonna launch
fire all the
this, and
time.
we're gonna make it this," and when I tell you, it's actually kind of sad because everyone tried to warn me. Like my co-writer, my agent, like they all tried to be like, "Hey, just because you got a big advance, like it doesn't mean this is gonna like take," right? What I learned was like nobody knows how to predict what's gonna go viral, right? But I truly believed,
And
Rebecca, I
that's not even
truly
true, by the way.
believed that when Macmillan Books, right, one of the 4 companies that absolutely controls publishing, I truly believe that when they picked your book and they said, "We're gonna make this big,
Yeah.
we'll handle it," I truly believe that they could do it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and it was just kind of
And if
like, it
they
was just
did, it
one
would
of
be on
these
them.
moments of like the scales falling from my eyes. And one of the
Right.
things that Josh Johnson, one of my favorite people alive, said, you know, he was talking about Diddy, and he was like,
Mhm.
people can give you money and people can give you power. So people try, especially people who have money and power and fame, try to imply that they can give you fame, right? But nobody can give you fame. And that's just kind of like, that's sort of the unpredictable, right? Fame is the sort of idea that the cult of Hollywood chases and all of this stuff. And all of these predators try to show up and imply that they can give you fame. And I'm not saying that the publishing industry is predatory, but I mean, you as the author get to keep 15% of your work. So,
It's
but
an
they
industry. It's
kind of tell you
yeah.
that like they can make this successful. And I believe, you know, I believed it.
Well, and they would have
And
they blame you if it doesn't work, and they'll take credit if it does, just
yep,
like any other
just like a cult.
organization. It's the organization that's the problem, right? And you think about this language, it's kind of right in our faces. Classifications, right? And we go to class every day. We are put in these classifications, but also like the governing bodies, like I said earlier, that's Jehovah's Witness language. The organization, that could be anything. The church, once there's that "the" in it, and the publishing industry, the industry, you know, whatever it is, it can be, that can mean Hollywood, that can mean, if it doesn't matter what the product is and it's treated the same way, those are MLMs. Just like that, they can rebrand. That's why it is handled the same way. These are narcissists, and we have to call out certain things and realize that some stuff that we deem as negative is only negative in certain aspects, like fire, right? Like, oh, I had to put out this fire to put out this fire. Always in corporate America, they have to put out a fire. I hated that. With my literal thinking self, it's like, are you, this isn't, but this urgency, right? But also being burnt out. I feel like white people introduced me to the phrase, actually, that's not true. It's a Black woman, but she works with white people. Being burnt out, and being fired. Those are failures. Whoa, that last part didn't mean to be, because sometimes there are such things as controlled burns. In indigenous cultures, they understood that fire was necessary, and like natural things need to be burned sometimes to build up new things, right? Being burnt out means you got out. Let's focus on the out part. And yeah, positive disintegration might be involved. Sometimes depression is the beginning of like a transformation into a new awareness and getting out of this cult, right? Of course you're depressed. You think you're worth nothing because you were told you were worth nothing for so long, in either directly or indirectly.
And also, in
It's
a
crazy.
cult, you get in trouble for being depressed, right? And you're
Yep.
depressed because you're in a cult, but
Mm-hmm.
you're told that you're wrong for being depressed.
Mm-hmm. And that's that whiteness, right? That's very whiteness. I was just like, I feel like there's a spectrum in some way between like white people being repressed and Black people being oppressed, because either way, it's like this pressing. You're just pressing down on your personhood, and white people do it to themselves. And then when they go out in public, they're like, "You're not doing it. How dare you not be pressing yourself down, especially when I'm doing it so much." And they're just so stressed out. And we aren't doing that at home, though. necessarily, or like in community you don't need to do that. But then you go out into the world of the things, the industry, the corporate world. Think about that. Like the corporate world, where's that?
Which one? Which one?
Where is that? Corporate America, we know it as a thing. 9 to 5, we know it as a way of working. It doesn't matter what you're doing between those hours, but we're all being overseen by managers. That's slavery. You know, plantation, corporation, I've discussed this before. Corporation, that's body management. It's
I mean,
bodied into
exploitation of
something bigger.
labor, right? Like, I always say this about cults, that people stop at the what? You believe what? You believe sex with children? For the purpose of labor. You believe what? Oh, you're good because you help people get sober? And it's not why, right? They don't get to the why.
Yeah.
And the why is always to exploit your labor. And I think
Yeah.
one of the reasons that America is like the cultiest culty nation is because we were not built without exploitation of labor, right? Like we were absolutely built on exploitation of labor, like from the beginning, right?
Yes.
Other countries with ancient histories, right? Like people built societies to take care of each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were built to exploit labor. Like we were built on the exploitation of labor.
It's
And
exploitation right from the beginning. It is get more for less. Period. Get out of it more than you put into it. It's their own language, right? That's why I call the cult of no color. Capitalism is a cult of no color, and it's just about codependency and comparison. We were talking about comparison earlier, and competition. You turned learning into competition and categorization into like taking apart everything and making it competition to say like, this is where you learn math, this is where you learn science, this is where you learn English, this is where, even that, when you think about it, it could be like mind, body, spirit. You learn math if you study the body in some way at some point. You learn science if you study what's creative energy will happen, and English will happen in communication studies if it's like that, or different ways of teaching. We turned it into ranks and grades and classes and caste systems and attendance awards. And because, you know, like I've talked about dance, I grew up dancing, and dance classes were fun for me because I remember even just showing, I used to watch YouTube videos of just dance classes. They still do them now, but it's very much Hollywood-esque. But in the beginning, it was when YouTube was in the good old days, you would just watch these classes, and at the end, them do the combos. I loved it. I would show my mom, and we would just enjoy watching it. And one time she asked me, and nobody's like winning or anything, there's no kind of like competition. And I was like, no, it's just class. She was like, I just love this. No part of me ever. But then I grow up to realize one of my friends grew up dancing, but she hated it. And I'm like, why'd you do it again? She's white. Yes. She hated it. Because it was dance competition, and they record their judgments while they're thing, and they have to listen to the judges at the end, and they're ranked, and they're waiting, and the others and the parents come, and they buy all this stuff. And it's like, it doesn't have to be, a dance studio doesn't have to be in competition with other ones, you know? But there's a lot of money to be made if we put them in competition with each other. A lot more money to be made,
it's
a lot
so
more
funny
exploitation, a lot more
how like
value to parents, I guess. I don't know what that's about.
when you even think of like running as a sport, right? And like I was a competitive marathon runner, and like for something you can do for free. For
Yeah,
something
honestly,
you can do for free.
the
Right? And
marathon
like
gets me.
the way people are literally like, yeah, you get a free t-shirt. Like, oh, for my $150 fee that I'm paying you to run on a road, I get a free t-shirt.
But,
You
but
know?
also that's the
But it's like,
virtue and
but
suffering.
it's the competition. And
Yeah.
like when I was in my competitive days, like I wasn't gonna run a fun run. Are you kidding? Like I'm not gonna do my energy just to go run for fun. Like, no, I'm running for that trophy.
I get that.
And
But it's like I
when
see it
I
so
tell you,
differently now.
like when the third girl passed me, it was done for me, right? It was like I could race until I knew I wasn't going to be on that pedestal, and then I was like, all right, this one just doesn't count, right? Like this was a bad race for me. It
Oh
just
my, a bad race. A bad race. Like And I,
look, I was
oh
so
my
bad.
God.
Like, I would literally be like, yeah, second place is just the first loser, you
We talked about
know,
this, right?
like just
Because I heard that once and I was just like, whoa. And I didn't really, but then just watching people and understanding like how devastated people were when they lost these games and stuff. Whenever I would watch the sports my dad would watch, I'd always just, oh, I don't, they were so upset. But it's like, you're not thinking about there is so little joy in just like getting there. And
yeah.
like you wrote a
But it's
book,
also
right?
like
Like,
this is what we have for community in America. Like, if you want to be an adult that has a community, go sign up for you know, like go pay money for a thing where you're going to compete because you're going to find other
compete.
people that are similar to you who also like doing the thing, and that, you know,
Competing, and then you're competing with each other to get the small spots and the big ones, and this because they divide the
you
class
know,
into the
it's like
groups.
they always joke, right? They're like, a half marathon is the stupidest named thing because running 13 miles shouldn't be considered half of anything, you know? Like, you ran 13.1 miles.
White
You
people,
know, I mean,
white
it is.
people,
There's just so much
y'all
to
need
it that
to
it's
pick a
like,
struggle, and it can't
you
be
know, and
that.
it's interesting because I like part of what I truly believed was my literal makeup that I could not change about myself was like, I'm competitive. And I just knew that. And I was actually like, running's actually great because when I was competing for people like in college for brain stuff, like they liked me much less. Like now I can just get all my competitiveness out in a place where we're supposed to be competitive. And like just realizing that, like, I mean, launch a love bomb color of the month club where we're going to sit around and craft and like make beautiful things that bring people joy. And like, I feel like that's going to bring me community, and there will be absolutely no competition involved. And like, I didn't
Unnecessary,
grow up even knowing that was an option. You know,
right?
and this is what really happens when you grow up under authoritarian control, when you grow up under a system where you are told from day one what your value is, right? Where you are told to always give 100%. You know, one of the comments my mom made on Culting of America when I talked about the intensity addiction, and she was like, yeah, and you were in trouble if you weren't like always high on something. Like you had to be high on Jesus. You had to be high on the mission. You had to be high on proselytizing. You had to be high on, you know, you always had to have that, like always pushing,
That's that
always trying to better
hierarchy.
yourself. A hierarchy.
That's why
Yeah.
I spell it when I spell it out. I always I put the GH in there and put in parentheses
IGH. Yeah.
hierarchy, because that's it. It's just
How
more
high you getting on the
higher,
hierarchy?
and you're putting yourself on top of other people, bodies. You, in order to always be in competition, you have to see other people as opposed to you in some way.
Mm-hmm.
And then even if you're always competitive with yourself, now one of you is lost and now you're carrying around that person and the happy person. You're never going to feel good because, you know, it's like, well, compete with
Yeah.
yourself. It's like, well,
Yeah.
still, it's
Well, and yeah, and say, and if you're a really good cult baby like me, you don't even need another person to compete with. You can
exactly.
just compete with yourself,
Yeah.
right? Like for me, it was like if my runtime on my personal physical fitness test that was only for me to keep my job, if it was not better than every other time I ran before, like I was destroyed. I was just like,
And is
one
that
time I
good?
missed the goal I was trying to make by 7 seconds, and I literally threw a little kid fit and like kicked and screamed and yelled at the ground. And that was seen as, wow, she really cares,
That's
you
some
know,
man
about
traction.
like
That's just,
bettering her.
that seems, because men would understand that. It's like, you're not good enough. Ah, dang it. I'm punishing myself. We like that. We like that. You know, it's like, yeah, this keeps you isolated. This keeps you between like the scarcity mindset and the stranger danger mindset that whiteness like inculcates in you, or whatever the word is. I don't know if that was the right word, but
Oh yeah, that's
they
right.
you are, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy of that persecution complex too. Like you set yourself apart because everyone's jealous, and like you're centering yourself in other people's narratives that they're also competing with you, and they're
Yeah.
not even paying attention to you.
I
They're
mean,
not trying to, you've got this big thing
also,
going.
you know, when the only thing you care about is winning the race, then everybody's chasing you.
Mm-hmm. And that's funny because Black people have this, what we know about ourselves is like, if people are running, if one person is running, honestly, we're running. What is the first question we're going to ask? None questions. Zero questions. We are also running because we trust. Might as run, okay? And I think that is a better thing to have. Or white people, I'll be like, what's going on? Let's give them the benefit of the doubt.
But that's also like community, right? Like
Exactly.
when all the animals are fleeing like danger, right? Or like
And we don't think people are chasing us when they're running. And I feel like white women may start running, but they're gonna be like, they want to catch me, like try to kidnap me. And it's something I think about with this is kind of all sorts of Sherry Papini, right? Have you heard of Sherry Papini? Her own Gone
mm-mm.
Girl. She went and honestly, even just saying this pissed me. She went and staged a hoax of herself being kidnapped and then came back and was like these two Hispanic women did it, but then it turns out it was her and like an ex, but it took like years for them to figure out. Of course, she's blonde and
Mm.
and has history of lying a lot and whatever, and then we find out. Right, people like to talk about Carly Russell, but I think there's a lot of white women who do a lot of this kind of thing. But now she's back and she's on her little spin thing. And dang it, I knew by explaining I was going to lose what we were talking about. What have you just said? Something about her.
That white girls think they're being chased.
Oh, sorry, I meant yes. But she was like 32 or something. And she tried to kind of like make this claim that, they were going to traffic her or something. That like you don't take into consideration that like that's not as believable as the media wants you to think. It's like everyone just wants a white girl who is a blind and out in the world. Like someone just picked her up. Her phone was like placed very delicately on the ground with some hair strands and her earbuds and whatever. There was a whole branding thing. A pimp doesn't brand. They wouldn't just hold you in this house. The story doesn't make any sense, but this narrative white women have been told, and I feel like it's why they get caught up in these, like, a man just broke in the house. And then the police are like, no, they don't
You
want
did this.
just, you're not all the June in The Handmaid's Tale either. Like some of you are Serenas, a lot of you are Serenas, and some of you, there's like these extra green ladies that are Serena adjacent. You have to stop looking through these media lenses of stranger danger and this they want they're trying to attack you. Black women just want to attack you and bully you and catch you in a lie, and the black men just want to, we're all just living our lives too. When we're all running, you should just assume we're running for ourselves and you should identify with that and also run. But instead it's like you see a bunch of people running, you're like, those are crazy people, or they're crazy people at me. And then it becomes about, I don't know. Someone tell me what's going on. They're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. You either catch up or left behind is kind of what I used to say to white women on the internet before I would get distracted. Like, you can either believe me and come on the journey, or you can be like, hey, I don't think all white women are blah, 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 are going to do exactly, or are the same, even though only white women say literally the thing you're saying. And like, okay. Yeah, all right, well, I'm talking to the ones who I'm talking to. You can't be special and then also be like, why aren't you talking to me individually when there's millions of people in the world? This main character syndrome. It's,
One of my
I
favorite
don't know.
quotes I like right now. You are absolutely unique and special, just like everyone else in the world.
And I usually say the foundation of the hut of humility is you are unique, but you are not special. Right? Like you have unique experiences, right? But your experience is not unique. You have how you engaged with it. We could talk about that, but not like the thing that happened to you is special. No, you're not special for it. What happened, and ground yourself in that. That's why it's the foundation. You need to ground yourself in you're not special. So you are never going to come up to someone who has hundreds of thousands of followers and say, who is the white woman whisperer, and then educate me, or just say, you look white, and like that's going to do something. Like clearly you think, I've been doing this for but that's what you look like when you start to go like, I just think okay, you think that's exceptionalism. You would think you are the exception. when you say, what if there was a Black woman whisperer? Wow. Whoa. The only way, that's a white thing. And that's the cult of no color, where you just like come back colonize. Like if I say something, they say you first. They take our black fatigue. That's the thing. And then white people were like, we have black fatigue, which made me learn about the original phraseology of black fatigue. Never really heard of it. Makes sense. But like white people have been telling me they're tired of this. And I was like, you take a nap. You're not woke. One other thing I just have been thinking about white people and your enlightenment. This is the word, right? Like, because I was listening to Mark Vicente talk about Nexium. And they were like, yeah, we're selling you business productivity, which is crazy, right? People join to be more productive in their businesses. Those are just words, if you think about it. Executive success programs, programming, executive success. Those are just words. They're all just words. But I get it. I would have been there. But he said, we're actually selling them enlightenment. And Mark was like, whoa, what's that? What's enlightenment? And what's the difference between that and being woke? Because you're enlightened to what? Is it like, I see this thing other people don't see? Because I feel like that's what white people are doing. They're like, no, I see the bigger picture. Oh, that's it. They think when they're enlightened, they get to like see the real thing. Because I don't know if they know
specialness, and it's still the language of light, right?
Right.
Enlightened.
You're enlightened.
Which,
explain.
By the way, someone called themselves a teal sheep the other day, and I was like, oh, that's amazing. That's great. Instead of the black sheep, right? I was just like, hey.
I was thinking teal swan.
Yeah.
Okay.
I get that.
Okay.
No, they were just like, I've always been the teal sheep of my family. And I was like, hey,
I love that.
There you go. Like, yeah.
Yeah, that came up again once I realized, like, I was like, this thing that white women do, I was trying to verbally process, like, what happens with whiteness. Like, I end up on the FYP again for talking about the sign about brunch or whatever. So all these people are coming, and you are obsessed with white women. You are obsessed. This is sad. It's so sad. It's funny. I'm going to pray for you. But the common theme of, like, you are obsessed with white women. We live in your head rent free, right? I didn't get it. Like, in terms of, I felt like back in school, like it's one of those things that I'm not understanding what the insult is from my literal brain, because I made the page white woman whisperer
to talk.
I care about white women. I'm talking about why do they think telling me? Yeah. It's like, yeah.
And I also just want to call out the racism and misogyny in it, right? So like, I get told that I'm obsessed with cults, right? On my page that I built to talk exclusively about cults. And my answer is always like, do we say this to men? Do we say to men that they're too much of experts in something? Like, do we say to white women? I mean, I try to talk about racism every day on my channel, and I rarely get told that I'm obsessed with race or that, I'm obsessed with black women, right? It's like, why are they bothered? Like, let's say
that was true.
Let's say you're obsessed with white women. Let's say your special interest is white women.
Right.
Why is that a problem?
That's what I was like, I know, even if I think it through.
A PhD in African American literature. Like, we don't use, you are too much of an expert in this topic, so I'm not going to listen to you, against white men.
You care. And someone had said maybe it's this like reverse of apathy, right? Like, you care about this, you care about something. Wow. Even like back in school, I used to feel like, oh, you like, you're not supposed to care about this stuff. It feels very patriarchal, but like, I realized eventually it's a bit also of the black sheep thing, where it's like, you can be seen. I can see you. I'm just telling you something about yourself. Whereas in a community, we will point things out about you, maybe roast you, as you would say, when you are doing something worth roasting you for. And if people call you ugly and make fun of your looks, it's usually because you did something ugly. And then why are they talking about you, right? People don't just, in community, just start talking. But in whiteness, being seen alone, like being seen at all, right? Someone that said their brothers were...
Being seen is dangerous.
Yeah. having shaved heads. People called them all these names like Q-tip and whatever. It's like white people just call people something they look like. Like, I can see you, I'm seeing something I can identify. That's enough. And that's an insult now. Because even when they say, like, you look like you have a lot of white in you. Yeah, because I do.
Because you do.
Like, I'm not, but I remember feeling this when I was younger. Kids would make jokes and I just would not get them because I'm not I gave you this information. I'm okay with how but in whiteness, being seen is the danger, right? Like you were saying about, when show up in the right place, wear the right uniform, don't volunteer for anything, blend in as much as possible, be camouflaged into your background. That's how you get friendly fire. I also want to talk about friendly fire because it's just as deadly, right? Oh, but now it's weird. It's almost worse. Friendly fire is almost harder to deal with, I'm assuming, I don't, but in my head, than from the bad guys.
Yeah.
And that's why we would rather work with white men than white women. Because friendly fire, now we have to coddle the person who shot their teammate because we have to make sure, no, it's okay. Everybody makes mistakes. Don't make her feel this. Don't ruin her life. Someone died. But if someone from the other team, see what it sounds like? It's a game. The other team shoots someone. Now it's like they're a martyr. Either way, they're still dead. But like at least they're spoken about positively. When there's friendly fire, it's like, well, maybe they went in the wrong direction. We got to figure out what happened. And also, blah, 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 blah. There's all the excuses and mistakes. And I think it's so helpful when you talk about even just like the basics of the military, even for people to understand where we're at. When you talk about just like the things you're chanting, I think it really opens people's eyes. And just like how I realized having conversations about the basic elements of the Black woman experience, even though for me it's a given, that's what people start connecting with, and then they hear everything else, but it's realizing what is the military for and who are they? And they're just men who have been indoctrinated also, but it's so much easier when you're closer to the top. You're like, your tail is longer in the chase your tail contest. Like you were born and you have a longer tail, and you're like, guys, it's so easy. All you got to do is just reach back there like this, and we're like, yeah. Me personally, I have a friend with no tail, and she's never tried to lick herself because she can't. So there's like, you don't even realize certain things about experiences until you deal with them. But I don't know. I just been like breaking things down to the most like basic element of what are we talking about? Lickies and chewies, okay? When you hear these things, it's like it humanizes
have I told you about snipers? Which, like, obviously, if you think about snipers, what snipers do, it's terrible. But, so sniper is someone that lays in wait to surgically kill you, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The number one quality that you need to be a sniper is to be very tiny. You know who's better at being smaller than men? Women. So it's just like there's just this perspective where they're like, we're doing it this way and we're blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, didn't even, as they were searching only amongst the men who could qualify with the skills to be a sniper, then have to find the really tiny ones.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, not even realizing that, like, there's half the population right there.
And that's
this
America.
Is with, like, the second most successful sniper of all time being a woman. And it's just like
when you're in a cult and you're like, why wouldn't they make this obviously good decision? When you're in corporate America, I think that's what broke things for me, because I'm like, what do you mean I can't talk about this very obvious way we could save millions? It's like, no, because this person, blah, 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 blah. There's all these reasons. But they make decisions that make zero sense and you are confused. And then they gaslight you and say, no, well, you just don't understand what happened. We can't look. Black people in corporate America, they're always just talking about how they can't find any, and they're all at this lower level. The whole system is designed stupidly. I don't want more women, honestly, to be snipers. I don't want anybody to be snipers. What are we doing? Well, can we chill out for a second? No, because we're in a cult. There's no chill in MLM. Every month is the same thing. It's always going to be the next month. What happens after that? We talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
The what What happens after that? Another month of this. Stop. Like we have, but they just keep you so busy. Busyness. Stop building businesses for no reason and start listening to people, because your business, and then you're competing. And is it a top business? How am I rated? There's every time you build a new thing, that's more to manage and think about. And that's why, again, I scaled down to, like, I had to think about myself like that and scale down to Patreon. I used to have, an Amazon link, and my friend does my Instagram, and it's just reposted my TikTok, but it's not, it's about being selective with your energy, but also like calling the bluff of more is better, like more avenues of things, more this and that. And instead thinking, okay, I am the source of the stuff. But also the military, it's just a bunch of people making terrible decisions just like everything else, but they're in the camo and the digital camo and I think it's just like the silliness of it all.
I like to call them grown men in camouflage pajamas, just to like
I like that.
really kind
I
of
feel like finance bros are busy
and
business
like
boys.
the way
That works.
the way I could not believe that, seriously, grown men in camouflage pajamas point to themselves and with their full chest seriously refer to themselves as the good guys and the enemy as the bad guys.
And
like
I think
like
about,
with all the energy of playing cops and robbers when we're
yep.
like 12 years old. Like it's just,
And I think it's about just like calling those things out, not giving them the weight of what they're supposed to have. And you see people, ex-Mormons, do this with their garments. Maybe not their garments, sorry. They're like wedding, the temple gear. Oh my God. I'm saying temple gear because I went to Temple University and all their stuff, temple gear. But they're just showing it, taking away some of this, talk about the top levels of Scientology, talk about just like the root of it. But I also think it's interesting. Once I made this connection in my head, it was hard to undo it. We look at people in the Middle East, we just broadly say Middle East, and women with full coverings, and we think, whoa, that is oppression of women. That's it. That's what it looks like. Not the Mormon braids, guys. Not the Mormon braids and dresses. Not the long cover your sleeves, not anything over here, not the men in the camouflage just walking around. We got so much going on here. Not the women in Orange County who don't look like women anymore. Like, this is all fine. Because we can, all the Bama Rush girls looking exactly the same, bleach blonde. But because we look over there, we have to stop with the stranger danger and be like, you got to stop talking with your Mormons who are scared of outside people. And like, that's creepy to me. Y'all got to stop. And they're all mothers and you're just having them breed. And
which, when I tell you, because we had to go through so the United States Army gave us a 40-hour class on cultural sensitivity before they sent us out into Afghanistan, right? So just if you just want to think about week, like what the quality of that was. Yeah. Nice. But one of the things that I'll never forget, that one of the women who was out here teaching us like about like headscarves and how they work, and they're going to take us to the bazaar and buy headscarves. And she was like, Muslim women like believe that this adds to their beauty and it brings out their eyes and it does this and whatever. And I just like, American women, go put on a headscarf sometime. It does. Mm-hmm. It does. Mm-hmm. I was like, ever since that point, I was like, I'm so mad that we left out. We remember movie stars in the 20s with the headscarves. And like, I was mad about like, why the F did we lose this option because of racism?
Yep.
And like, it does. I mean, you have never seen your eyes pop until you put on like a really pretty headscarf. Mm-hmm. And just a very small random thing that never would have thought about, right? Never would have had the experience.
Because it's only associated with just like with the male gaze.
We only talk about it from oppression, from the perspective of oppression.
And from the male gaze in a way, because I was gonna say oppression, but from the male perspective as well, because we can't see. That's you're clearly it's got to be because there's just such a limited way of viewing the experience when you're a man. And that's who's allowing us to have any opinions on what's going on over there. It's like they look at it like, well, we're not that bad. That's really what they're saying, is we're not as bad as that. We don't make you cover your faces because we like looking at your faces. We wouldn't want that. We like looking at that. You know, it's like there's none of this that is worth
It's just
participating
another
in
version of
conversation-wise.
like, stop talking. Our grandmas had it so much
Yeah.
worse. Like,
No,
stop,
actually, I'm gonna keep
stop.
talking. I'm gonna do
This
what I
is how
want.
progress works. Yeah.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
curse of could be
Because
worse
like
I talk about.
I keep saying, like, while y'all's grandmothers were in the kitchen telling you to never go back to that, right? Like the grandpappies were in the living room telling their grandsons how great it was to have a mommy bang maid at home. And like now here they are thinking they can pull us back to that. And it's
Yeah.
just like
Or they were
so
miserable.
silly.
You know, like honestly, they were probably
Or they
miserable
were also miserable. Yeah.
at the same time, you know, and it's like even the people who said this is great were having a terrible time. So stop it. Like
I
and
used to tell
that's part of it.
my husband, like, look, under feminism, everybody has more sex. Okay. Just like, just like
Wait, I can't hear you for some reason.
I used to tell my husband that under feminism, everybody has more sex, right? Just like
More
get, you
or
know, like
no?
the lie more.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
like the lie, like when you respect women and treat them well, shockingly they want to have more sex with you. You know, it's like
Yeah,
just like the
yeah.
lie of the cult is always a lie. You know, and this concept of like I mean, I get it all the time on the internet. I don't know if you do, but like, oh, your husband must be the most miserable. And it's just like so
Mm.
funny to me because of course
That's
like
interesting. No one ever.
I'm married to the literal veteran that MAGA wet dreams about, right? And it's like
Hmm.
neither here nor there, but like yeah, it's amazing that like not being if you're not a misogynist, you can live very nicely with a woman who expects to be like respected and treated with equal dignity. Like shocker. And they
I,
just can't, right? They like can't fathom that I'm not just like this man eating monster, you know, Medusa in their minds because they only approach me with misogyny and I don't take it.
I never get asked anything about that. So if the only references
That's
to men
interesting.
that will come up, yeah, I'm thinking about it, is like, what did everyone, and usually it's a man, did a white girl steal your man or something? Like, why am I obsessed? It's more on the obsessed thing. It's that we can see you thing. But they don't see Black women as women. Like, you know,
Yeah.
if I talked about a child, then they'd maybe go for my baby daddy status or something, like you're a single maybe, but they don't even think of me as a person, like, which is this is the first time in my life I like to talk about like certain truths we understand. I've been thinking about like what is true we hold on to, especially people who've been gaslit. And what was true for me is like there's certain privileges. Privilege was true was that men acted differently towards me because they were attracted to me in some sort. That was like one of those true things to me. It was like, oh, maybe I would have gotten in trouble for something, but I feel the sense that I'm not getting trouble. I'm getting this thing because this guy is interested, right? There's that. Not, I feel pretty. No, that was the truth. And also that I was good at being good at school. I was good at following the leader's instructions in a school setting, you know, completing assignments. Very cultivable quality to have, I think, like the gifted and talented of it all, because you're rewarded for obeying essentially. But like, so those were my two truths I knew about myself. One is that men are, so to come on the internet and be serving in this position as talking to white women and not be seen as a feminine figure at all, it's just so, it's more of that like, whoa, what, that's interesting. And even just so when people talk about pregnancy, they don't think about me at all, maybe because I don't have a kid that I show, but like they don't think about a journey of that, like a thought of that, or how old I could be. Someone said, I'm not listening to some young woman, blah, blah, blah. Or being my age at work. Like men looked at me and thought I was just a young thing, little young intern, and I was 30. But anyway, but then once I was starting to get gaslit on I'm good at this, I'm smart, I guess should say, because when I say good at being good at school is quote unquote smart, because I think that's a very specific type of smart. Smart enough to follow the rules. I don't know how smart that is, because look, you know, anyway. So once I started to feel like I had to explain this to some man, and I was in my 30s, so luckily, that's when things started to break for me. I started to have that burnout. Once I started to say out loud, like, I'm smart. Like, it was one of those truths for me that actually was true. Like, this is how people react to me. I know this. I don't know a bunch of stuff, social cues and all of, what that joke means, all that stuff. But I know I'm good at this job. I know it. And I think if we can reinforce people with those things, what do you know to be true? You're good enough. If I had that, more, you aren't waiting to be chosen. Prince Charming doesn't
Yeah.
exist. The fairy tales aren't real type of stuff.
Well, and I think
You're
that's
not
one of
special.
the things that bothers, like, let's just call it the patriarchy and all of the people involved in like the white supremacist patriarchy about kind of like online space taking away the gatekeepers,
Mm,
right? Because it's like, I'll do this thing where it's like I have credentials all night long. But the reason y'all listen to me is because I show up every day and I give you useful information about cults that helps you in your life,
mm-hmm.
and that's why people show up and listen to me. And that's why it doesn't matter what they say. And it doesn't matter that they try to cut me down, and it's like, that is sort of the end run around, I'm literally looking right now. I'm like, probably in September, I'm going to hire an intelligence analyst to give me cult news reports every morning. And like, just you watch in 6 months, Knitting Cult Lady is going to be one of like the trusted news channels out there, because like we can just make that now,
Yeah.
right? We can just build it. I don't have to ask anyone. Like, I
Right.
already am a source for news for people, And so it's like that, right? That level of like, we're operating outside the systems,
Mm-hmm.
right? Obviously, we have to use some of these other systems and some of these other tools, and it's very exhausting. But like, people get whatever at me, right? Because I'm on my 10th TikTok channel. I'm like, yeah, because I'm using it the way I want to use it to make money for my projects. And
Yeah.
I don't care how many times they kick me off. I'll just come back. Like, I'm not playing by their rules. That's why they're kicking me off.
Yeah.
But I'm doing it because I'm playing my game.
Right.
And
And
it's
what are
just
they
like,
saying?
they can't,
Why would they have a
they just
problem with that?
can't, they just cannot.
They're saying,
But
I
like,
wouldn't do this. The white people, that's what they say. I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't feel this
they
way if I
wouldn't
were
do
you.
it. They don't see the value. But also, it's just like, why? I've been saying this in I'm in my try and come from my job era, and it comes with a lot of bustiers and corsets.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've just been repeating, like, hey, my brain works the same in a blazer or a bustier,
Mm-hmm.
and they can't, right? Because there's all these rules. The systems have given us these rules, right? And this is what cults do. They give you 1,000 rules, and they promise to you that if you follow all of these rules, right, we'll love you just the way you are. If you're perfect,
Right. Yeah.
then everything will go well for you, right? Everything will be perfect. And girlfriend, there is no, I'm sorry, I don't know if it was disrespectful to call you girlfriend like that.
You got it. No, that was
There's
the perfect way to handle
okay.
it too. Because it's like,
Okay,
oh,
like, there's no version of me making this same money if I had stayed on the corporate path in this amount of time. Like, it just, no. I am making bonkers more, building a thing I care about, building a brand new, like, it didn't even exist before. What I do didn't exist before. And now I make way more money than them, and they just can't, right? It's like,
and you're not
it's kind of
apologetic.
like what you talk about, like when you realize somebody else is not playing the game, it forces you to realize how freaking hard you're playing the game.
Yeah. And imagine you
And
put
they
all that
can't.
energy into just
And
playing, period.
it's also like the fairness, right? It's like the
That's another
white
word.
supremacy, patriarchal fairness of it all, right? Like, to them, it's not fair. And I get this, from white women
Yeah.
in the literature world, right? Like,
Who
the
gets to do
attitude is,
what?
it's not fair. It's not fair that Daniella has a memoir, The Quality of Uncultured, because she didn't do it our way. She didn't suffer for a decade. She suffered for 35 years. She didn't,
Right, right.
like, do it exactly this way in this system. She got her co-writer instead of an MFA, whatever, right? And they're just so upset. And it's just like,
Sorry.
we are building, I think, a new models and new systems, right? Like this is the
Right.
third phase. You and I are in the third phase of cult deconstruction, which is
Mm-hmm.
moving forward with new models. Like we
New
are building our
pathways.
own things.
Yeah.
We're on our own journeys. You know, Mr. Knitting Cult Lady and I talk about that, like our only tether to reality is our child. But like we are building our dream life and making sure she's fine. But like we're doing us. And even that, right? Like we haven't set aside our own personal dreams as parents. And
Right.
you're not allowed to do that in America either, right?
Nope.
And it's how I literally this was my leaving of the corporate world, right? So I was working a very hard corporate job. My spouse was deployed in a very dangerous role. I had a 1-year-old who I was raising in 3 languages. 2 of them are not my first language, and I was so tired.
Mm.
Hmm? And I was literally sobbing in my office about how hard it was to be like raising my kid in not my mother tongue, and I was giving myself the talk of like, you're doing this so that she can grow up to be anyone she wants. Right. And then I just stopped and I looked around and I literally said out loud to myself, I said, Daniella, that was supposed to be you.
Yeah.
Right. Like
You
you are the
lead by
15-year-old girl who came from
example.
a cult. You are the person who did all of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And literally, like, this was the beginning of me deciding to like write my book and change my whole life and everything. Cause I was like, when did I give up my dream to be like someone else's mom?
Yeah. Yeah. Because what would teach her, just giving her opportunity, you have to nourish that. It's not just water. It's also like attention and dedication and caring enough. But she wants to be like you. And if what you do is sacrifice everything for her, then she's going to try to go sacrifice everything for
Yeah. And then
something
I'm
or
going to feel
someone.
resentful, right? And if I was this kick butt woman and then as soon as I have a kid, it just became all about her, then what's that teaching her, you know?
Ooh,
And
right? The
like
hood, the motherhood, right? And it just comes down and it's white and pointy and it blinds you to
oh my
yourself.
god. But also it just makes me think like I need you to have a graphic novel that's like the motherhood and you're like in the hood of like white motherhood.
Yeah. And, it either would be motherhood or sisterhood because the Mormon MLM sisterhood thing, because the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, they talk to each other about sisterhood and they use that sisterhood, this familial like it's so close, right? But I like the hood thoughts too because like someone made the hoods, right? Also, like women, those hoods were part of the MLM pitch to join. Like it cost money to join the and like the women had their own thing and MLMs are typically run by women, but they're started by men. Like Keith Raniere had women dominating women. I just think we have to free ourselves from that competition. Like this person's obviously telling this to me to be critical, terrible. What kind of sisterhood is that? But yeah, how
Yeah,
creepy
and
the
this is such
sisterhood
a
is.
good, this is something I've learned from you, right? Like the white women were obviously sewing the hoods, right? Like when we are learning, especially because like got it, patriarchy is the OG cult, right? Like it's in all of it, and sometimes we can focus so hard on that, but then
Yep.
to just be like, where were the white women? And I've been saying this thing,
Yeah.
right? Like it's always a Jeff, right? It's always a Jeff. And I've begun to realize that it's because of the white women that name their sons Jeff, right? Like, it's those ladies that I actually have a problem with.
Yes.
They're the ones teaching their sons to be the Jeffs.
Thank you.
And then, like,
This
they're
is
part
what I
of it.
need for white women. Because it's like you get to the what, not the why. Why do they treat women like this? Not because you're doing the same thing. They're monsters, all of them, every
Right,
single
right.
one. How
But
did they,
it's like, why do,
you
yeah,
know,
it's also like, why do these white men grow up thinking that because they have a Johnson, they're better than everyone? Because that's what their moms teach them.
that's what their mom said. You can do
Literally.
no wrong. I'm standing up for you, sweetie. No, that's not what he meant. No, he would never. Mama, I like to also like
One
the
of
whole
the
boy moms and girl dads. What about the girl moms and the boy dads? We don't talk about those. It's only, ew, guys. You're doing that thing white people have been doing for a long time. And and I talked about palatable and people always trying to,
creepy.
what
Yeah.
what do we trying to get eaten, like we're making ourselves palatable to the worst palates in the world. And people got mad at me about that.
And like,
Oh, you don't make everything.
the way it's just, okay, this is going to be a tangent, but like, we have one child on purpose, and it's a girl. And the way people in the 21st century cannot wrap their heads around that my husband is not dying for a boy, that
Oy.
I'm not dying to know the different and even stronger kind of love that mothers can have for sons. And that we
I'm
wanted
sorry,
a
like
girl. We
creeped.
didn't want a boy. We are very happy with our only girl. And it's just like, it's so archaic, but
Oh
it
my
is
God.
still in like all of our language
Yeah.
and all of our just like the
I'm sorry, like that's
like
so.
as a good little autistic white girl, I love me some Tudor England, right? And like the boy moms in white America and the women wishing only for sons, like it's still the same thing, right? Like
Oh, I
it's
wouldn't know how
just
to
like
like. I wouldn't know how to answer because you can, but they just mean it like that's experiencing white people, by the way.
I have literally been told to my face that I will never understand the kind of love, special kind of love that a son and a mom can have. Just like, stop.
That is so gross, honestly. And you're putting that on just an entire, that's why dehumanization like is the problem, and property
Yeah, and it goes
management.
with these are the same moms that put heartthrob on their like 3-month-old baby, just like,
Mm-mm,
I mean, it's
mm-mm.
like
I'm so
you're
grateful my mom
programming
was not like
all
that.
of this stuff in and just
See, yeah, you got to be like kind
which
of
I mean,
not cool.
just the way that my husband like has to convince people that he is perfectly satisfied with a girl child and he feels fulfilled is just
Oh my gosh, because the downline and the legacy and the name, that's white,
right,
no.
right? Like what? Like how are you gonna stamp your ownership on everything? And just
And then
like
it's like,
I
once it's in, then it's like,
just
did he find someone? Did he, you're breeding? Like, that's what you're making. And then you're romanticizing it literally. Like, you're like talking about how this kid's gonna love you. And also the whole, you'll never, they just love that. I think
yeah.
to me, that's what I would focus on is not what I would, but what I'm curious about is like, you would never understand the whiteness the exceptionalism of I have an experience you don't have. And it feels like it could have been anything, but that's a gross one. But like you just, if people don't have kids, I'm not interested in having a child, right? Um, you never understand. Yeah, probably. That's just also
Yeah, but also, do we all need to understand all the things?
your
Right?
experience.
Like,
Your
I
experience isn't
love
the experience.
one of the books that I love to read, one of the niches that I love to read is very specifically like fiction or nonfiction, but like African diaspora that settles in London,
Hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Fascinating, right? I think because it's just a completely different perspective from me.
Yeah.
I also like Mao's China sort of set in novels and whatever, and I'm just like, these are my special interests.
Yeah.
I'm never going to understand what it's going to be like to be a Black Caribbean immigrant in London.
Right.
And I don't need to.
You don't need to.
I can experience the art. I can, like
But see,
obviously I'm going to go to all these neighborhoods when I go to London and like eat the food and check them out, but like we
I
don't
was
need
gonna,
to have every experience ourselves,
but
but
also
also we can
you
appreciate
shouldn't.
like
The recommendation, like, so I was thinking you were gonna say, not even really. My brain went is like, you're not telling me, hey, you should read this book about because you're never gonna experience. I don't read that, right? But you're not gonna tell me you should read because it just doesn't.
yeah,
You're doing what you're doing, and
yeah.
you're having a good time.
There's like
That's
this
where that should
interesting stuff
end.
here. I like it.
That's it,
It's
right?
interesting. The
It's
end.
not good, but evangelizing the Mormon influencer, like that's why Mormons, I'm like, it's all about getting into someone else's life and telling them, no, what you really need is the thing I got. and that's all whiteness. Like, it's the weird. I wouldn't see it that way if I were you. If it were me, blah, 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 blah. It's so individualistic, so imposing, and self-inserting in other people's lives. It's just, to me, that's where it's confusing, because it's like, you'll never understand it. That's so, where did that come from? I don't have a boy. That's just information. Now it's like, well, let's talk about you'll never understand. You're just narrating stuff. You're just because there's just like, my experience has been so good, so would yours. What?
The way that people felt like it was their personal job to convince us to have more than one child. I mean, it was just fascinating. And because we literally spent a year deciding, right? And during this year, we talked about it a lot with a lot of different people because we were really trying to decide what we wanted. And the way people, like, first of all, would tell us you have to have 2 kids and then immediately tell us how hard and miserable it was to have more than one child was hilarious. But just like, I literally started to say to some people, like, hey, y'all know this is not a group decision, right? And then finally, like, when we made it surgically final, it was just so nice because it was like, all of a sudden, random strangers don't feel like they need to try to, like, convince us. And just like, it was just one of those, literally being pregnant and becoming a mom is the thing that made me start studying culture, right? Because it's just so bonkers and people are so out there. And I grew up in such a different way that I was just like, this is
it's such a, the
is
whiteness.
crazy. But like the amount of societal, like literally having to be like, hey, y'all, this is not a group decision. We're not deciding if it's fair that Daniella is only gonna have one child. Like, stop.
See, but that's culty.
Stop. You know, like,
that's culty. That's not,
yes.
I don't think that's typical. Because, you know, like, I grew up, I never made a decision or didn't make a decision because it wasn't, it's like, you know, we talk about the lack of. My mom didn't push anything on me. So it wasn't like I decided. And I thought, if I don't feel extremely strongly about this thing, and I know, and I listen to Black women, I don't want to do that. If I don't want to do that, right, that's enough for me. But it's not like I'm fighting against, or people are, it should let your, like, and they never thought about, like, well, I think they both also, you know, are neurodivergent and realize they're not raising the child. Like, I grew up knowing that. My dad always was like, oh. But also my older brother came from Jehovah's Witnesses and was so adamant on never getting married, never having children, that I knew that was one of those types of personalities. It was very aggressive about it. Married to the government. And I'm like, okay. I didn't feel that way, but I never got to the place where I felt I definitely want to. And so I didn't. You know, it's, white people need to chill a little bit about other people. Like, there's so much, I think that's the repression, now that I think about it. Because you should have so much going on in your head that you think about, and what do you want to do with your life, and how little things can have such impact, that you couldn't think about what other people are doing and have such strong feelings about it.
Also, it was so interesting because literally, right, like, when he had the no baby surgery, all of a sudden people just realized that, like, oh no, you don't have to care about this, right? Like, you're not taking care of that child. That's not your spouse. Like, that's not your future baby that's being talked about. Like, all of a sudden they were just like, oh yeah, you know, it was,
like, they have free will to make their own decisions.
Such a weird, no, just like that they didn't have a say anymore in our marriage, right? Because we'd gone and done the surgery. But like, it was just such, it was a very interesting shift to just be like, people would literally argue us. Like, it was very much this concept of kind of like, your white lady womb is a public asset. And
so if you had surgically changed it, I think it would have been a different experience.
Very different, for sure.
I mean, different for many reasons, right? Because it's actually way more invasive, but also it'd be way more invasive socially. Because I know even of Black women who like have to fight to do this because they don't want to waste a womb. I heard a phrase of some Christians. I
have a friend who has terminal cancer, who was getting her ovaries taken out so it would stop feeding her terminal cancer, who has 3 children. And the first question the doctor asked her when she said, take out my ovaries, is, what if you want to have more children?
Yeah.
Like, are you, like, she wants to spend a year with her children that she has. It just,
Like, and as if she didn't think
I
about
literally
that.
heard that and
As
I was
if
like,
she
this
didn't
is
even
why
think
we do
about
this
it.
work. Like, this is why we do this work.
Right.
Like, this is, I mean,
Yeah.
this is just,
We can't,
whew.
that's because the systems do things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have to
Because
hope
a
when you go talk to
doctor,
your friend,
because a
they say that's
doctor,
crazy.
a professional person actually said that out of their mouths
Well, and the one thing about
to an already existing mother who's dying of cancer. Like,
the doctor of it all is also what I talk about, like with the uniforms and the costumes of everything, is that if a doctor, and I want to do something with doctor and doctrine with the Mormons as well, you know, their body is a temple, but if a doctor says it's okay, plastic surgery, Botox, poison in your face, right? Botox, please get it. Ketamine is fine because of
yeah,
Botox. Go
but
get
no
Botox
coffee.
because you can get laughing gas when you get the Botox for free because they offer it. And sugar, so much, right? So like if a doctor is involved, worship of the written word, in my opinion, right? And a plea to authority or
Yeah.
whatever. But you know, the coffee is so bad because it was hot drink and now it's coffee. There's all these things. But if a white man, because that's what doctor is to them, right? Like a white man who reads says, no, that's fine to put that botulism toxin right in your face because we want you to look great. But your body is a temple. The temple, lots of temple stuff, and white delightsome and all that. But zoom out, and plastic surgery.
The ladder is made of
bodies.
The ladder is made of
Oh
my gosh.
bodies. Stop trying to climb it.
It's a good title. That's got to be our title for this. I think that has to be a title for like a book or an essay or something that you do. Maybe it won't be written. Maybe it'll be like a one-woman show, though, you know.
That's so true. There's so many things, because someone that said black sheep in a white cult, that sounds like a poem. I was like, that's true too. There's so many.
And I have to come tell you how good I have been doing my homework, because somebody yesterday was like, you're invited to the cookout. And I was like, no, I'm not ready. Okay.
Very nice of you. That was very nice. You know, you
very
understand
nice.
the
Thank you.
meaning.
I get what you're saying, but I'm not coming. I'm still learning.
And when you go into the cookout, you bring plates, cups, or ice.
Literally,
that's what they
my
say.
first reaction was like, no, Rebecca says no.
They meant it well, but you know, you had the good instinct to go. It's an informality.
It's also just like, when you don't know how much you don't know, you're very like motivated. Right. And now I'm like, I know that I'll never be ready for the cookout, you know, or like I'll always be.
You're gonna be the white lady there,
right? Like,
yeah, you're not gonna turn into a black person part of the family, but you may be invited. They'll be like, "Oh, man, call lady, she go," you know, eventually.
I have to be like, okay, you said bring plates and
nothing that the stove is involved, no cooking. They are not going to touch it. I'll tell you that. You bring plates.
No violent implements.
Yeah, everything wrapped in plastic.
I always bring strawberry mango salsa. That's my party.
Wow, that probably tastes really good.
It's like pico de gallo, but instead of tomatoes, I put strawberry mangoes. Delicious.
Yeah, black people are not going to eat it, but it's not an insult. They don't trust food. They will say, we don't eat from just anybody's house. We don't eat from anybody's house. And I learned that. I didn't grow up with that, but I'll eat it. But overall.
But I do have one thing going in my favor, though, is that I love okra, because I grew up in Brazil.
I love okra, too. I like that texture. But I think people are like hit or miss with it. But listen, and you'll listen. I think that's really the biggest deal. If they say, hey, you know, just sit over here for a little while, you're not going to argue with them, right? You're not going to, and it can be that easy. But yeah, I would, you know, don't make any dance trends or anything and be like, am I invited? I hate when white people do that. Am I invited to the cookout, guys? Look, I have rhythm. You know, don't make one of those salsa videos. I know you do.
I don't know. But don't make the video. I was rapping apocalypse Bible verses the other day on the internet. People were like, can you drop some bars? And I was like, all through time and down through the ages, we've been told by wise men, the prophets, and the sages.
But also, you know that you did this?
The guns.
And I think that's really interesting when white people do rap stuff, like especially from that age, the 90s. Yo.
Yeah. For anyone listening who doesn't have the context here, this is because our cult was seriously racially appropriating rap in the 90s. And there's a video of me and 6 other white children rapping apocalypse Bible verses. And we're going to make fun of all of that in the Cult Baby musical.
I love it. They'll cancel past you. But it's like, this is how no one wants to cancel you. That's just funny. That's just
I
funny.
mean, it's hilarious. I can't wait because it's like he's gonna come down and blow them all away, and then my chorus is gonna go, blow them all away.
Very cute, like though, like a cute cult.
I mean, I blow my mind, right? I shared this video once, and this woman says to me, she said, "Oh my God, I grew up watching this, like, and I never understood how they got you to do this, right?" And I'm there, like, going, like, they starved us and beat us and kept
That
us trained
that was
only to
weird.
perform our whole life. But the thing is, that's not what it looks like, right? We
Right.
look like happy, bouncy, blonde children that nobody can believe they actually convinced to do this thing because it's so ridiculous. And
Yeah.
like that's the whiteness of it all. That's the like
Like you don't look past this and go, no, okay, so kids wouldn't do this. I wouldn't do this. That must mean there's this going on to me. Like
there's
that
something
she would
going on.
look at
Yeah.
that and be like, how they get you to, like, you know, that rhetorical questioning that just stops so short of identifying that we can see the context. I can see the camera. A lot of times I grew up also being behind the camera, my dad, but it was personal. So I couldn't even imagine having to be put on for like public performance. I felt like I was put on for family performance, you know, but like, and even that was just like, I would hate for that to be on the internet now. So there's just so much relating you can do that isn't, why did you stay rhetorical derogatory? Like, white people, terrible
Yeah.
questions. Join Christianity. It's my cult. We actually value questions. How dare you?
And it
How did you
even
get you to do that?
but it's even this like almost like the ladder is made of bodies, you know? It's like, yeah, we were one of the most successful white performance cults. We sung at the White House. And like it was literally our bodies, right? Like
Yeah.
our being tortured, being imprisoned and enslaved and all of that. And like it just looks like shiny white
Shiny,
Christian
happy
children.
people or
And
whatever.
it's
Yeah.
shiny, happy people. I
It's
literally
like
call it
picture
shiny, happy
perfect.
exploitation. And it goes back to this like, we're told that trafficking looks like little brown children in Brazilian slums, not these little white children singing in
Smiling.
the Brazilian slums,
For some
smiling.
reason, if you're smiling, white people are like, see, there's a picture of her smiling. No, you know that I can do that on purpose. It's the way, like the amount of autonomy people take and give away to people for whatever narrative works for that wouldn't happen to me. That person shouldn't be speaking about this because look, she was having a good time. The idea of picture perfect, I want white people to really think about as a phrase. Like, have you seen it? It's only hindsight, HIGH. You're high on hindsight, and like people smile all
And
the time when they don't mean it. What do you
who,
mean?
you probably know who said this. I want to say it was Nora Zeal
Person?
Hurston who says, if I didn't talk about my pain, they would kill me and say I enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah,
You know, and it's
yeah.
like
If you
that,
suffer
like
in silence, like you enjoy it. Exactly.
literally. And it's
That's
just
what they
like,
want.
and I had that moment, right? And I was like, oh no, like, right? Like, we have to
Yeah.
talk about all of it. We have to pull it all out. We have to, like,
And people feel better when they are confirmed in this way. Like, let's stop confirming that people are bad and let's start confirming that you were fine the whole time, regardless of what the bad and the good and the. Okay, anyway, like
you didn't need to be fixed.
you were fine. You're interesting. Like they tried to make you a blank slate, a canvas for them to paint on, smooth surfaces. No, you got texture and experiences and a wealth of knowledge. And get out of my business.
And you know what I love the most? In this video, where I had never made a free decision in my life, where I was being controlled and I was dressed by someone else in a way that we never would have been allowed to dress ourselves, I'm still the child wearing the most outlandish outfits. I'm still wearing fluorescent pink with pianos flying across them. Yes, we'll be recreating for the right? And it's
You
like
were
I
you
was
the
still
whole
this
time.
kid. I was still me the whole time. Like they still were like
Or
weren't
just
putting you in,
right.
you know,
And that's
like
what we really I want people to envision is like this journey is just uncovering. It's just brushing off all
yeah.
the dust of however long you were asleep and now you're being awoken, enlightened. No, you're not being enlightened. I actually hate enlightened. You're being awoken because you're white, so
I'm
you're
light enough.
awoken.
I'm light enough. Thank you.
Yeah, right. You're gonna be awoken. We stay woke. We've been woke. You're gonna wake up and you're just gonna go,
I
oh
mean,
wait, I was fine that whole time. Hold on. What did I like? What did I pretend to do in the mirror? That probably has something to do. What are my special interests? blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Like, and if
There's this great,
someone doesn't want you to say it, that's weird. Why are they in your business like that?
yeah, there's this great deconstruction artist that I've been listening to, and she has a line where in a song called Skinny, and she says, I was literally trying to disappear. And she repeats it a few times, and then she says, but guess what? I'm still here. And it's just like, I say that to myself all the time, and it just like gives me
Mm-hmm.
the chills and stuff, And it's
Yeah,
like
and that can be
every
seen
time I
so
want to
many
make
ways.
myself smaller or whiter or easier to get along with, it's just like, no, just you were you the whole time.
And no matter what you do, you won't disappear. Like no matter in
Right.
both ways, right? Like no matter how hard you try, that's not gonna happen anyway. So like acceptance is really your only solution. You can keep trying, but it's just gonna taste like tail once you catch it. If you can catch it, if you got a tail, you're just gonna be like, yeah, I don't know what I was expecting. They sold it a lot more. You went into the temple, they did a creepy
Oh my
thing,
God.
then you caught your tail.
Tastes like tail.
It just tastes like tail, and I'm trying to tell you now, like, there are better
Oh,
goals.
you're so good.
Yeah. Well, there are better goals, and having fun is a good goal. Having fun running, I'm sorry. Every time I see a person like, I ran a marathon, I'm like, okay. Why are you telling me also? Because I'm just like, congratulations. I don't know. You suffered a lot. That's what I'm hearing. Why'd you do that?
6. I don't even know how to tell you how many 26.2 miles times 6 is, but I've run that many marathons.
That's so many miles. And like, if you enjoyed them, great. But I don't know what else. It's just a lot. Like,
This is
just a
this is
lot.
even part of it, right? Like, I don't even know. I don't even know if I liked working out. I don't even know if I like working out. I don't know if I like running. I was running 60 to 100 miles a week. I don't even know if I like it.
Right. I feel like that's the waking up is once we realize I had to like pick up hobby, put them down and go like, wait, do I naturally want to do, I don't know if I want to do this
Like,
because it looks interesting. It'll
yeah.
make me, I don't know. And so being able to deconstruct, break it all down, and then pick up what you are inclined to pick up. And as you uncover, all that
Yeah.
stuff. Jeez.
And even just for me, it's even just realizing like I don't have to love working out. I can just exercise not to punish my body, just to feel good. And
Right.
that's okay.
That's how I feel about
And how
cleaning.
hard that is for me. Like
I feel that way about cleaning because it feels like a chore. I also, at one point, we should talk about chores because you mean living in a place you enjoy.
yes,
Like,
please.
once I start realizing, oh, I enjoy certain elements of a clean place. Messy, I'm okay with, but certain, oh, this isn't because I have to. The living room has to be tidy just in case someone shows up, like this policing surveillance. No, actually, I'm excited to wake up and come out here and see that just like this kind of stuff is put away. I don't know. The novelty of a new space. I like moving things around, stuff like that. But like when you mix in regular rules with like these arbitrary rules and make them all the equal weight, it starts to, you don't know what is real anymore. Like murder is next to thinking about doubting the leader. Those are the same level of sin.
Making your bed. You don't have to make your bed.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a
like,
made up thing.
chill. Like it all comes back to like, take a beat and a seat, guys. Y'all are really intense.
I have to tell you this one. My 9-year-old, she came down the stairs ready for school, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you look so grown up. How do you look so grown up? She just looks at me, she goes, skincare.
Okay.
I'm like, you know what? I'm taking this energy of a 9-year-old thinking that their skincare is why they look good.
Okay.
And snappy. And like, I'm just going to go into the world.
Obviously, big girl things.
So cool. I don't know why I wanted to tell you that. I just wanted to tell you that because
Yeah, she got some attitude, and attitude is not bad. Don't let her tell you otherwise.
There's the system, and then you can just be awesome and be yourself, and that's what I'm learning. The
Yeah.
most. Oh, I'm so excited to see you.
I'm
You all are going to have missed this by the time you hear it, but Rebecca and I are meeting in person tomorrow in New York City. There's a happy hour. It's going to be very fun.
so excited. I'm leading the apart.
I'm getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go
I
to
was
New York
wondering
and then
how you were.
hosting an event at 5 p.m. Yeah.
Okay.
It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine.
Okay. No, it'll be
It'll be
exciting no matter what. It's like once we like get there, you're just gonna be like,
I'll be all hopped up on coffee. We'll be fine.
yeah, and excitement.
Thank you so much for this conversation. The ladder is made out of bodies, you all. Stop climbing it. It's weird.
Yeah, terrible.
Follow
goal.
Rebecca.
And don't forget, everybody's sunburnt up there. They're climbing bodies and they're sunburnt and miserable.
Follow Rebecca on her Patreon. Always new stuff to think about. Give your mind a workout. And thank you for following our channel. Please like and subscribe. And we will see you next week for increasingly interesting conversations on deconstructing the cult of white supremacy.